I know if I want to hire somebody in the first couple of minutes. Was I excited after that interview? Did I feel motivated? I'm not going to bring somebody into my vision if their vision cannot fit within it. A lot of people always want to know, like, what are the interview questions that you ask?
Yeah.
I think what people don't understand is that what I've picked up along the way is just simply pattern recognition through volume.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people that tend to answer questions like this tend to not work out if I hire them. People that tend to answer questions like this do tend to work out when I hire them.
Yeah.
And so one thing I talk about a lot is that it's a lot more about the responses than it is the questions. I honestly sometimes don't ask one interview question that I tell people to ask. I am just going with what I'm seeing, and I'm asking questions based on the feedback I'm getting from that person and the vibe I'm getting from them. And when I say vibe, it's probably like the associations that I'm getting from that person based on past experiences of people that have similar associations.
Right.
So I think a lot of it is pattern recognition. That's why I encourage people so much. I'm like, dude, take 20 interviews for a position, because what is so invaluable is the pattern recognition that you gain of what it good looks like and what bad looks like, versus a lot of people just like want to minimize the time. They say they don't have time to hire. They don't have time. I'm like, well, you're just going to end up having to get rid of that person or get somebody different anyways if you don't. And so I think that the key has been, I have never backed down in terms of like, I should be taking less interviews. I don't want to interview that many people. I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. And so I felt like that's a key piece of my job, is making sure that we have the right people on the team.
Yep.
And I think that the best way that you can become good at that job is by doing more of it, just like sales.
Totally. And here's the thing. You when it comes to hiring, like, you want to give your people team a process to follow, right? But if you know, like, you're going to jump around and you're going to look for the pattern recognition. And sometimes it drives my people team crazy. Like, I'll step in on the interviews and like, oh, Eric, you're not asking questions from the process. Of course I'm not, because I understand the different dynamics. It sounds like you're doing the same thing. So I think people should understand that if you're a founder and you have an eye for talent, you don't need to follow that playbook. The playbook is for your team to follow, right?
Yeah. And I would say also, I think it also depends on the company and the role. So like somebody who has a sales organization where you're churning people in and out, because it's just like the nature of the job is people burn out pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And so you're hiring people all the time, and it's for a very low risk role where people don't intend to stay for a long time, and you don't intend for them to either. It's like a few stay for a long time in those kind of companies. In that kind of company, would I interview every sales rep? The answer is no, I probably would not. But would I, in the company that I have in acquisition.com, we only have like 25 people on the team. Like, why would I not want to interview the people that are coming on the team? And they're for roles that I actually expect people to stay for a pretty long time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that in that case, it does make a lot of sense. Like in Gym Launch, for example, I interviewed all the roles except for the two that were the highest churn, where it was like they were only going to be there for maybe a year, and we knew that and they knew that.
Yeah. Dude, there's you just gave the example earlier. There are companies that will, like, the CEO will be involved, or the founder will be involved until the first 1,000. DoorDash, I think, was involved for the first 2,000. And then I think Bill Gates or Bezos were really involved, like, deeply all the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if it's the highest leverage thing you can do in a company, like, you can't ever really abdicate it, right?
No, and I think I look at it like in acquisition.com, like my two best, highest leverage positions to be in are determining who comes on the bus, right? Like, who gets a seat on the bus and where do they sit in terms of the team? And then who gets a spot in the portfolio? Mm-hmm. Because my eye for talent is the same eye I have for, I think, company talent, which is like, is this CEO going to cut it or not?
Yep.
And so I try to like make sure that I do dedicate my time to both of those things, because I think that also the more that you do it, the more efficient you get at it. It doesn't take long. Like Y Combinator, they do an interview and they all have said the same thing. They're like, we know in the first 20 seconds if we're going to bring them into Y Combinator or not. And I start to feel that way. I'm like, I don't need an hour. I need like 10 minutes max, you know? But I feel like, I don't feel like a dick. So I'm like, yeah, sure, 30 minutes. But I'm like, I already know in the first 5.
Yeah. Dude, so you actually stick it out for the 30.
I do more so I know if I want to hire somebody in the first couple of minutes, almost always.
Yep.
What it is that I actually want to use the time to set expectations for them. Mm-hmm. I want to reiterate to them, what does our company do? What do you do? What problem do you solve? Mm-hmm. In what way would you blow my mind?
Yep.
What am I going to do for you when you work here? Yep. What is my commitment to you as being somebody who comes to acquisition.com? And so I just want to like lay the groundwork for the relationship more than anything. If I think that they're the right fit.
Right. There's a Leilaism that Alex just gave me. And so the heuristic I used to use was, Larry Page during the interview he would just get, he's like, okay, Leila, teach me, like, what's something you're passionate about? Okay, teach me for 5 minutes, just so he can get something out of that interview, right? So he's not bored the whole time.
Yeah.
But yours is even better, where it's like if the candidate can't teach you something better than the role that they're being interviewed for, like, then you shouldn't hire them.
Yes, in almost all instances.
Yeah.
Now, there's some roles where you bring someone who has the character and then you train them up on the like sales or like, customer service or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, you're going to be training them. But most of the time when people are asking about hiring, it is for roles where like that person is taking over a function where the person hiring them doesn't know how to do it. And I think in those instances, I look for, did I learn something from that interview?
Right.
Was I excited after that interview? Did I feel motivated? Did I feel excited to talk to them again? Like I learned something, I had a perspective shift. And especially if I'm hiring a leader, did they challenge something I said? And not challenge in a way of like, did they try to prove me wrong? But did they provide an alternative perspective that was contradictory to mine that I also think could be right?
Yeah. How do you go about then? Eventually you have to learn to cut bait quickly. And I think you guys, my sense is you guys have mastered that, right? So I'm trying to get a sense for, or get a framework for the audience here, because you got to like, pretty quickly when it's also not a fit.
Yeah.
Right?
So you mishire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have this frame, which is, it is completely my fault because either I don't have the skill of picking the right person for that role, or I misunderstood what I was looking for the role, and so I hired the wrong person. That's on me. It's also on me to right the situation. And I think that a lot of founders and CEOs, what they basically do is say like, I'm going to try and make it work. I feel bad. This person because they freaking quit their, like, think of all the people that are listening to us that are founders. You quit your job. Remember how hard that was? Mm-hmm. They quit their job to work for you. That is equally as hard.
You changed their life.
Yes, that is a huge life change. And so I don't take it lightly, but I also would feel awful keeping somebody in a company knowing that there was no career path for them. There was no opportunity for them, and that I could not hold up my end of the bargain of, this is the opportunity that you get working here. Because whenever somebody's joining me, it's like, I'm not going to bring somebody into my vision if their vision cannot fit within it. Mm-hmm. But if I'm keeping them in the company because I'm afraid to tell them, I made a mistake and your vision does not fit within this one here, that's on me as well. And I'm doing them a disservice, keeping them in the company because I'm preventing them from going to a company that will be able to do that for them.
Right. And I don't think most founders, early founders especially, are able to take that full responsibility when at the end of the day, it is you making all the decisions. Yeah.
I just try to do everything in my absolute power to make it as easy as possible for them to find that. So I have a big network. So what I've done in the past is I reach out to people and I say, this is somebody that I hired. Here's why they're not a fit. Here's why I think that they might be a fit for your company if you're looking for something similar.
Yep.
And I've tried to set up interviews with them. It's worked out more than it hasn't.
Yeah.
And obviously it sucks getting fired, but at least you can make it easy for them if you have a place that you can transition them, rather than just like putting them out to the cold.